Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of the Mussar Mondays. We are live, and we had a very lively discussion last week, 2 weeks ago, when we spoke about peace, and we're going to resume that conversation. So I want to start off with a Talmud that says the following. It says, Talmidei Chachamim, that the righteous Torah scholars, Marbim Shalom Ba'olam, they increase peace in the world. And the question would be simple to ask: why do they increase peace in the world? So our sages tell us a very interesting thing. We need to elaborate what we discussed last week, what peace is to begin with, but I think we need to define what it means to increase peace. So I want to bring to you, I found this morning from a tractate that was from Brachot 64a. But in Chulin, in the tractate of Chulin, page 79a, says the following: L'olam al yeheh adam mazmin atzmo l'machloket. A person should always run away and never involve himself in a quarrel, in a dispute, in a machloket, which is called a disagreement or a let's call it a war. Ela yeheh boreach himenu v'yasim chelko be'alovim ve'inam olvim. But instead, he should put himself among those who run away from fights, from quarrels, and he should place himself among those who are insulted and don't insult. All right? An amazing thing. So let's see what the Talmud is telling us here. It says a person should always distance himself from arguments. Okay? You want to know how to keep peace? Stay away from arguments. How? Run away from them and always place yourself among those who are insulted rather than those who insult. All right? So our sages tell us an amazing thing, and that is that when someone insults you, someone calls you a name in public, someone embarrasses you in public, and you're embarrassed. So our sages say, don't respond. And someone who doesn't respond when they're insulted in public, when they're hurt, when they're disparaged, someone who's able to maintain themselves, all of his sins are forgiven. All of their sins are forgiven. So, what many of us would like to do is find an opportunity for someone to insult us in public so we can get all of our sins forgiven just by not answering. But it's an amazing power. There are stories that are told about the sages who over the years people have come to them and said, what should I do? Someone insulted me, someone hurt my feelings in public. Should I go after them? Should I get them? He said, no, put your hands on my head and give me a blessing. That's what you should do, because you're a purely righteous person. Someone who is insulted, someone who's hurt publicly, and doesn't go to even the score, but rather keeps peace, keeps quiet. Such a person, all of their sins are forgiven. And, our sages who understood would run to them to get a blessing. A blessing. I read this multiple times. When I was doing more inside study into this topic over the past week. I saw many sages who this happened to, and they insisted, put your hands on my head and give me a blessing. A simple person, they're like, me, give a blessing to you? You're such a... Yes, because a person who's ready to forego their own dignity, their own honor in a way, and not even that score, such a person is free of all sin. Who else is it worthy to get a blessing from? Because now let's remember, We mentioned last week, and I don't think we placed enough of an emphasis, that when there is a quarrel, when there is an argument, what happens is it creates a block. It blocks the channel. It creates, right? It blocks the channel of our prayers going up. But if someone doesn't have sin, if someone doesn't have any interruption, then there's a straight channel. It goes right up. So who else would be better for us to receive a blessing from than someone who actually is clear of all sin? Right? So that's why our sages also tell us a very interesting thing. Al tihiyeh birchas hedyot kala beinecha. The blessing of a simpleton shouldn't be taken lightly in your eyes. Why? Because although they may be a simpleton, they may be free of sin too. They may not know a lot of Torah. They may not be so scholarly. They may not be so wise, but they may also be free of sin. Someone who's free of sin has a clear channel to the Almighty. Someone who's free of argument, of fight, of quarrels, has a straight channel. So it's so critical and important that we recognize the dangers of a fight. A fight between two people, a fight between two groups, between two synagogues, between two communities, between two nations. It could be a terrible thing. It can cost lives. It can cost tremendous aggravation, and most of the times, for no reason. For absolutely no reason. How many times do people have fights and arguments based on misunderstandings? Total misunderstandings. Now, I want to bring you to something else that I saw here. So it says, we mentioned last week, 2 weeks ago, that God prefers having His own name erased for the Sotah, which is this week's parsha that we just read. For what purpose? Just to bring peace. Just to bring peace between this man and this woman who have suspicion going on. To bring peace, God says, erase my name. She should drink that water that has God's name erased in it. So it says as follows: V'hitir limchok shmo shenichtav b'kedusha mipnei avat shalom. To erase God's name, which is written in holiness. For what purpose? Just so that there be peace between man and his wife. V'zoi midato shel Aharon. And this is the trait of Aaron. HaKohen sha'ayam rabeh shalom ba'olam. The Kohen, the high priest, who would bring peace to the world. Who would increase peace in the world. Ve'al zet tzivu, listen to this. Hevi mitalmidav shel Aharon. And this is what the Mishnah tells us. Be like the disciples of Aaron. And like we mentioned last week, Ohev shalom, berodev shalom, love peace and pursue peace, just like Aaron did. V'ra'ui lagadol limchol al kvodo, v'lelech etzel kadan, b'shvil l'tavech shalom. And it is worthy for the elder statesman or the senior person to forego his honor, to go to the junior person just to broker a peace deal. Me, I'm going to go to the little kids. I'm going to go to the junior, right? I'm going to go to the young kid in the class. Yes, to make peace. That's what greatness is. Someone who's able to go from their high level. Oh, me, I'm so great. I'm so holy. I'm so, elevated above everyone else. But a true righteous person will go all the way down to the lowest person to negotiate a peace agreement between two individuals, between two parties. Okay? Shelo yeh kvodo yoter al shem kvod shem shamayim. Because when two people are fighting, God isn't happy. And the honor of God is sort of affected in a negative way. it's better for your honor to be forgone than for God's honor to be forgotten. Right? This is unbelievable things. Right? Imagine, right? You're in synagogue, and you know there are two people that don't talk. It happens. Sadly, it happens sometimes. There are two families or two parties. They don't talk. They don't like. They used to do business together, and one cheated the other. Whatever it is. This one didn't invite their child to a play date. This one didn't invite them to their house for Shabbos. This one, everyone has things that they get caught up in. To go and pursue that peace. To go to, what? Me, it's not my business. Or, I'm so righteous, I'm so holy, it's beneath me to start negotiating peace between other people. Right? God isn't happy when there's no peace among his people. So how do we bring about peace? How do we bring about peace among other people? So our sages tell us in Pirkei Avot, another gem, right? Pirkei Avot is filled with gems, one after the other. In chapter 4, Mishnah 15, says the following: Hevi makdim b'shalom kol adam. Every person that you greet, advance them with peace. Advance them with hello. You see someone. I remember this as a child. We had a rabbi. We learned this Mishnah when we were in school. And we would talk about, always saying hello to someone before they say hello. Did you see someone? Hey, how are you? So I don't know who they are. So I don't even say, no, go over and say hello. You see someone in the street on Shabbos. Hello, how are you? Good Shabbos. Be the first to say, initiate the peaceful gesture. Initiate. That's the idea, is initiate. So, by the way, this is going to be rule 101 in our shul. I don't know when we're going to have a shul, but whenever we do, this is going to be the first rule. You have to say hello to everybody, especially to the new people. Someone new walks in, they should be getting a hello from every single person. It's an astonishing thing. You can walk into synagogues, nobody says hello, nobody knows, nobody cares, right? I'm not saying nobody cares, but some people just are shy. People don't. This is the Jewish people. When you're the Jewish people, we welcome in new people. We say hello and we ask them, do you have a place to eat? Do you have a place to sleep? Do you have a place? I have a dear friend of mine who was here in Houston for about 10, 11 months. And he was a single guy at the time. Today he's married with several children. But he came here on a job, and he was living here for about a year. And one week he got caught up late in traffic, and he sees the sun it's getting lower and lower, and he's not going to get home on time. So he searches quickly on his phone for the closest synagogue, and right off the highway on the 610 there's a synagogue, United Orthodox Synagogues, and he said, that's it, I'm pulling into that synagogue. Takes all the stuff out of his car, whatever he would need for Shabbos, which was the clothing he had on his back literally, and he parks his car there, and that's it. Where is he going to sleep? Where is he going to eat? Has no idea. Someone walks over to him in shul, a completely random stranger, who I happen to know very well. Walks over to him and says, do you have where are you from? What's going on? He says, well, I got stuck in traffic, couldn't make it to my apartment, which was 5 miles away, and I'm here. He says, do you have a place to sleep? No. He says, do you have a place to eat? No. He says, you're by me. They became best friends. Right? That's what peace is. But how about doing that to people we do know? Right? Advancing peace to people we do know. Maybe there's something we can help with. So some way we can bring about more peace to the world. by being more friendly, by being more kind. We have to know something. The generation is a little bit off topic, but I think it's so important for the sake of peace. We're living in a generation, I once heard a lecture from Rabbi Beryl Wine, where he said that many, many years ago, there was no such thing as people leaving Judaism. There was no such thing. Hey, people who were Jews but were against certain things, but no such thing as people leaving the faith, completely leaving the faith. He said, why? Because they weren't welcome anyplace else. No one would welcome them elsewhere. So they weren't welcome in Christianity, they weren't welcome in Islam, they weren't welcome in any other religion. And you had to be involved with something, because this atheism wasn't in style like it is today. Another ridiculous fad. But it wasn't in style. So you had to be part of something. But today, he said, and I think he's so correct on this, Rabbi Wayne. Today, the streets are warm. It used to be the streets were cold, you had no place else to go. Today, the streets are warm. If you don't keep our synagogues, if we don't keep our communities warm, they're going to go. And they're going to leave. And we see this. That people are disenfranchised with their own Judaism. Why? It's not warm. It's not friendly the way it should be. There's not enough peace. That's our obligation. Our obligation is to bring peace to the world. How? We start with the people sitting next to us. We start with the people in our own home. We start with our community. We start with our friends. We try to secure that friendship and that peace between one another. That's what we want to accomplish here. So, we have a lot to talk about here still today. But I want to get to Shabbos. And we discussed Shabbos last week briefly. But how do we greet one another on Shabbos? We mentioned last week, Shabbat Shalom, right? What's Shabbat Shalom? There are people who, in Yiddish, they used to say a guten Shabbos, or a good Shabbos in modernized English, right? But it used to be a good Shabbos. But Shabbat Shalom really, if you look at halacha, the halacha refers to the speech on Shabbos as being things that you say like Shabbat Shalom. Right? Saying hello. But what's the purpose of Shabbos? The purpose of Shabbos is to focus on peace. Yeah. You know that? What's the great mitzvah women have Friday evening? Lighting candles. Do you know why? Why do we light candles? So we've mentioned many different reasons about spirituality, a physical world, a spiritual world. We mentioned that in other classes. We'll get to it another time. But another reason that's mentioned in halacha, to bring peace and harmony into the house. Now think about this. Who came up with the brilliant idea to have candles in a restaurant? To make it romantic? You know who? The Torah. Right? Shabbos. What is a Shabbos dinner? You have candlelit dinner. You have your Shabbos candles. What is the purpose of those candles, say our sages? Something called Shalom Bayit. Peace in the home. Right? It brings an aura of romance. It brings an aura of beauty. Right? It brings in a sense of love and endearment, of friendship. Now, interestingly, halacha also says, if you don't have any light, you're going to trip over things, you're going to make a mess all over your house. That's not going to bring peace. So there's also a practical element to it. A technical element. Is don't trip over things. Like this, you have enough light. But that there should be peace in a home is one of the most important things in Judaism. Shalom Bayit is a tremendous emphasis in Jewish liturgy about peace between a husband and wife. Right? It says that if God forbid there's a divorce, it says that the temple cries. Right? Imagine the tabernacle cries when there's a divorce. Why? because that's strife. That's not peace. And when there's no peace, it's the main element of what we're about is missing. Now, it's not to say that there isn't sometimes a necessity for people to be divorced, right? Sometimes, sadly, that's the reality. But it's still not something happy. It's sad, but it's necessary at times. And I'm finding that more and more in our generation, people are just more and more lazy to work on things. They think it's going to be easier. We've been sold a bill of goods from the fantasy world of movies that, they're just skipping along the beach, kicking up some sand and holding hands in the sunset, and they lived happily ever after. And then the movie ends and the credits show and everything is great.
What movies are you watching?
I haven't watched one in many years, but
I don't see that.
Right?
Not they used to, not now.
And the actors who are doing this are all divorced.
Right. It's not real. It's not real. A real relationship requires a tremendous amount of work. But it more than just work, it requires a focus on peace. If the goal is we're not walking out of this room till there's peace. Right now we're going to figure it out. We're going to overcome the differences. We're going to, whatever it takes, we're going to make it happen. So then you'll make it happen if it's important enough. And we see that in God's world, there's nothing more important. There's nothing more important in God's world than peace. Because again, reminder, the last blessing of the Amidah, the bottom line. Sim, Shalom, Tova. First, peace. We need peace. We end off our prayers. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen, right? You know what's amazing? So, I'm going to say this in honor of my friend Danny Gutman, who's online here watching us. So, Danny, this is for you. I want to see a thumbs up if you like it. So, is it an incredible idea? When we have a mezuzah on a door, any halachic dispute is either one way or another way. So if the sages say the sukkah should be 20 amot, or the other one says it should be 10 amot, right? We don't say, oh, you know what? Let's compromise. We'll do 15 and it's perfect. That way they're happy and it's fine. Right? This one says, 10, and this one says 5. We'll do 7.5, and it just, we'll just split it in the middle. It doesn't work like that in Judaism. It's either we follow A or we follow B. There's no alternative option. So there are two opinions on how we place the mezuzah on a door. One says, do you have it completely vertical? And one, do you have it completely horizontal? And we know that the halacha concludes that it should be on a slant. Why? Compromise. Not like this, not like that, compromise. And the obvious question is, what's going on over here? We know that there's no such idea of compromise in halacha. It's either one way or the other way. So our sages say that because the first thing you see when you come into a house is the mezuzah. It's to remind you every single time you walk into that door. Compromise is the key to success in that house. You want to have success in the home? You're going to have to learn to compromise. It can't be all like you, and it can't be all like you. It has to be. You have to learn to compromise. Right? So they say that the reason why the Sephardic don't have it on a slant, they have it straight, is because it always goes like the woman. Right? That's supposed to be funny. Yeah. No, but the truth is, so we have like this. We have the slant on the door, on the mezuzah.
He's writing, don't tell that joke.
No, it's funny. I've used it before. But either way,
Different crowd.
well, yeah, it's fine. Everyone's tired. It's hot. It's fine. So the idea is that we have a slanted mezuzah to remind us the key to success in a home is going to be compromise. Right? So that's why the instructions taught to a man before he gets married are his obligations to Shalom Bayit, to peace in the home. Peace in the home, yes.
Talking about mezuzah, I have a friend in Mexico City that's Sephardic, and he said when you kiss the mezuzah, you should use that middle finger. Is that correct, or is that not?
Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
He always said to me, you gotta go like that. No?
No, it's maybe
Is that
maybe
Sephardic custom, or?
probably a Sephardic or a Kabbalistic thing. But you know what? Let's just put our hand on the mezuzah, recognize that God, His presence is all around us, and He protects us, and He watches over us, and that's the main thing. Now, some have a custom not only to put their hand on the mezuzah, some have a custom to kiss it, but the bottom line is neither of them are worth anything if we don't have a consciousness of recognizing that God is there with us. Right? So just to put your hand as a habit and kiss the mezuzah, it's a nice gesture, but God wants us to feel what we're doing, not to just do it out of habit.
You have it on every door, right?
Yes,
Do you kiss every door's mezuzah every day?
if you
When
can.
you come in and out?
Yeah, if you
do?
can, yes. So every door should have a mezuzah except for bathrooms
Right.
or rooms that are smaller than 8 foot by 8 foot.
Like not for a closet.
A little closet, no. Not a little. But a bedroom, yes. An office, if you have a big walk-in pantry that's bigger than 8 by 8, then yes. But most of them not.
Do you know why? I know it's commanded to do it.
It's a commandment, yeah. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. On every one of your doorposts, you should have a mezuzah.
Okay.
Right? Not only the front door. Right? And by the way, while we're at the topic, I just want to remind my friends here and those online that just because you buy a mezuzah in Israel doesn't mean it's kosher, especially if it's in a gift shop in Jaffa. Right? Most likely it's a photocopy in there, or not necessarily a kosher scribe who wrote it. You know, there was a big scandal that was happening. You had women sitting in a bunker in Gaza writing mezuzahs. It's a true story. They caught them. There's a whole scandal. They were pushing mezuzahs to the market that were never written by a. So you have to really, really be careful to make sure that the source of your scroll of your mezuzah is actually a bona fide and well-recognized, God-fearing Jew, and not just some hack in a gift shop. Okay. Oh, so now the Talmud says a very interesting thing. So we started talking about always being the first to say hello. Go advance peace. And I'm telling you, when you go, it's something that needs to constantly be strengthened. When you go to an event, you go to a place, you see new people, don't wait for them to come over to you. Go over to them. Be the first to say hello. How are you? Where are you from? Go introduce yourself. Right? Go advance peace to the world. Okay, that's one of the important things. So, where we said that a fight is considered a blemish, which is why a Kohen, a high priest, who would be in a fight with someone, would be forbidden to do service in the temple. Right? It's considered a blemish of right? Someone who fights with other people, someone who's not at peace with other people, it's a blemish. Right? Not allowed to serve in the temple. Right? The gateway to acceptance by God is through peace. So there's a tremendous emphasis in all of the teachings of our sages to peace. Okay. Okay, so he says over here like this. The Chavetz Chaim says the following. He says in Kriya Shema, we mention Shalom. We should mention peace. In Amidah, we mention peace. In the blessing of the Kohanim, what do we say? Yivarechacha Hashem v'yishmerecha. God should, right? God should bless you, right? And it ends off v'yasem lecha shalom. And God should place peace upon you. The blessing that we receive from a Kohen is the blessing of peace. That's what it is, the bottom line, right? And then the Chavetz Chaim says an amazing thing. She'ein kates lamatan schar shel shalom v'rodfav. There is no limit to the amount of reward that one will receive for pursuing peace. There's no limit to the amount of reward. Keep on trying. Keep on hustling it. Keep on running after things. So I wanted to talk for a minute or two about what are the tools we can use to pursue peace, and what are the tools we can use to avoid getting into a situation of strife. All right? So I think the first thing is the will. You have to have the will to make peace, to have peace. To understand that if this is the most important trait to God, shouldn't it be the most important trait to us? You see, like this. If you know that someone's upset at you, even if they're wrong, now assume they're dead wrong. It's not their business. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. You should judge me favorably. There are all these reasons, all these things. But guess what? If you really, really, really want peace, and it means that much to you, as it does to God, you'll find a way to make sure, even if you know what, you got to put yourself down a little bit. I'm gonna get off my big white horse, and I'm just going to apologize, even though I did nothing wrong. But because they have that perception that I've done something wrong, it's important for me to run after and pursue the peace. Yes?
Isn't that what we do at Kippur? We ask for forgiveness to everyone?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's the right time to just...
Right. But the only issue with asking for forgiveness on Yom Kippur is what do you expect them to do? Right? If you really cared it. Now, again, if you only realized about the issue now, okay. So now is it right? It's Yom Kippur, I'm about to stand in front of God and ask forgiveness. How can I ask forgiveness from God if the person sitting next to me doesn't want to talk to me? It's a problem. And if you don't have peace among people, you're not going to have peace from God. Right? So that's true. However, why are we waiting for Yom Kippur? A regular Tuesday evening without Yom Kippur should be enough. And that's really what we're aiming for. We're aiming to be people who are always immersed in wanting peace. You know why I'm calling you? I'm calling you because I got a sense that you were unhappy with me. Yeah, I wasn't so happy by this, by that. The people, you know what? And sometimes it's not your issue. It's not even your problem. It's their problem. But if we cared enough about peace, right, we'd work those issues through. Yes.
So I walk into a synagogue and I don't know anybody. Is it my responsibility to go out and meet them and say hello and introduce myself? Or is it their responsibility to walk over and talk?
You know what? You can't be the policeman for everybody else's responsibilities in ensuring that they're doing their job. But you could ensure that you don't become miserable by them not doing their job. So you know what? So you walk over and say, you know what? Hello, I hear that you're the president. I know that you're very busy and you don't have time to walk over to everyone. I just want to introduce myself. I'm new here. Right? And you say hello. So even if you're new to a synagogue, they don't know who you are. People could be shy to come over to you and I don't know. Go over to them. I just want to introduce myself. Again, if the purpose is peace, then what am I going to get insulted? I'm going to start getting insulted. Oh, I can't believe they didn't say hello to me. I can't believe they didn't say this. I can't believe. It's fine. If the goal is peace, then it's no.
No, I agree with you. I'm just smiling because people get involved in this all the time. All the time.
What's that?
It's phenomenal how much this goes on.
It happened to me at one, I'm not going to say which one, at one of the synagogues, that I walked in there and nobody said a word to me.
That's a terrible thing. It's a terrible
It
thing.
is.
Remember?
It
You
is.
remember?
I remember.
Yeah,
You were there.
Yeah.
There's several people in my synagogue I've talked to. Why did you join here? Well, I went to the other one and went to their own naked. Nobody said a word to me.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
came over here and a couple people,
Yeah.
you know.
Makes a big
If we're not
difference.
going to
And it
advance
worked both
peace,
ways.
if we're not going to advance peace, we only welcome strife. We welcome people who are disappointed. We welcome people who are. It's such a pity. But the first thing, we have to have a will for peace, and if we have a will for peace, we'll be able to do step 2, which is advance and forward your welcome. Forward a hello.
So I'm a very quiet person until you get to know me.
Really?
Well, I mean, it took me a little bit to open up to some of y'all, and that's fine. But when I walk into a synagogue, I don't want a bunch of people walking up to me. So then I feel bad because I'm not going to remember who any of them are the next time I go.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, it's like how many people can you remember at a meeting? It's fine. I'm happy with kind of like, okay, now I have you, and then next week I'm gonna work on like you, and then you just kind of build.
But you know what? I guarantee you'll be much more comfortable if, okay, let's say one person comes over and says, welcome to our synagogue. If you need anything, I'm always here. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to remember everybody's name, and you don't have to. But it's nice to be noticed. It's nice that someone recognizes, hey, there's a new face here. There's a new face. I went over to someone, Pesach. I was here for Pesach for the first time in Houston. So I see this individual, clearly does not seem like he's part of the normal membership of the synagogue. It turns out he's not from the state. He's been here once or twice before. He has family in the area. And he said this was a long service, one of the longer services, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I walked over to him towards the end. I said, "Hey, it's nice to see you. Where are you from? It seems like you're not a regular here." He says, "Yeah, I actually live in a different state." He tells me what state he's in. I don't want to say which. And he says, I've been here for 2.5 hours. I prayed here last night and the day before. Not one person came over to say hello.
Yeah.
Not one person.
That's hideous.
That's a terrible thing, right? That's our responsibility for the Mishnah. It's not some modern day commentary, right? From the Mishnah, the Talmud, and the verses in the Torah. V'yasem lecha shalom. This is a verse in last week's Torah portion. The priestly blessings.
Yeah.
It's common sense. People are just lazy sometimes.
Common sense. There's a lot of common sense that's
No,
not
but
so
it's
common
common
anymore.
sense,
It's also common sense not to rob a bank and see how many stories there are in the paper about people robbing banks. It's also common sense.
When Dave and I were going to a certain synagogue, I would do that because on the women's side,
How about when we were
People-
graders?
well, that's because of that. Because someone new would come
So
in, a visitor, and no woman, they were all busy talking.
I'm very
paid no
opposed.
attention.
I'm very opposed to greeters in synagogues.
You are?
I'm very opposed to it, and the reason I'm opposed to
Well,
it,
I wasn't doing
I'm,
it as a formal
I'm
greeter.
opposed
I was
to.
not.
In many synagogues, they have people who are
No,
assigned certain
no.
jobs
Well,
as
maybe
being
you are.
greeters. They greet everyone who comes in. The reason why is because that shouldn't be a job of an individual. It should be a job of the synagogue,
What about
of the
new
entire synagogue. Every person should have a little patch around their arm, greeter, usher,
Yeah, but
right?
It's not going to happen.
It's not.
Well,
gonna
you know
happen.
what? I think it all comes from the top, and that's what the leadership of the synagogue needs to. You know what? you pay the membership in saying hello to people, in greeting other people, in welcoming them.
I wasn't doing it as an official greeter, Rabbi. I was just doing
Good,
it because
good.
I could see that nobody
Good,
was
take-
doing it. And you know how uncomfortable it is when
That's-
you go someplace and nobody speaks to you. It's horrible.
Mhm.
It's a horrible thing to have happen.
So
I
we
was
said
just doing
way
it.
number 1 is have the will.
Yeah.
Number 2 is forward your hello. Be first to say hello. And number 3 is don't worry so much about your honor. Right? Don't take yourself too seriously. You can, it's like we said before. We brought from the great sage. It says, "V'ra'ui legadol imchol al kvodo." It's worthy and proper for the greater person to forgo his honor. Leilech eitzel katan bishvil letavech shalom, and to go to the smaller person, so to speak, to negotiate peace, to broker a peace. Don't be so high and mighty.
Isn't there something in Pirkei Avot about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to. Now, I mentioned something that I really, really need to repeat. I mentioned this on Shavuos evening. So, for the two of you who were in that class, if you were awake at 5 o'clock in the morning, you both were awake, but at least conscious.
The father was starting to walk back.
And 4:30 in the morning, and I said the following thing. If you look at the continuation of the Mishnah, there's an unbelievable piece of psychology. That Mishnah that we mentioned numerous times from Ethics of Our Fathers, chapter 1, Mishnah 12. It says, "Be of the disciples of Aaron. Love peace and pursue peace. Love mankind and bring them closer to Torah." So, and Torah referring to, for those who are Jewish, the actual study of Torah and the influence of Torah. And for those who are not, to a proper path. So here's what Rabbeinu Yonah gives as an explanation. This is a magnificent, remarkable idea. Imagine a criminal. A criminal is walking in Jerusalem. And he's passing by Aaron, the high priest. Aaron is like, wow, the epitome of holiness, the perfection of the Jewish people. So he's sort of hoping that Aaron doesn't notice him. So what does he do? Aaron sees him. He says, "Oh, it's so great to see you. What's your name again?" Tells him his name. Doesn't know anything about his crimes. Doesn't know anything about his past. Doesn't know. Just ignore. Accepts him for who he is. I'd love to see you more often. Why don't you come by? Come by, hang out a little bit. So what did the person think to himself? He thinks to himself, if Aaron only knew half of my sins, he would never talk to me again. Aaron sees him the next time as if he doesn't know anything. Aaron says, it's such an honor to see you. You're such a good person. I wish I can see you more often. Person's thinking to himself, if Aaron only knew, he would never talk to me. And the next time Aaron sees him, he says, "Oh, it's such a delight to see you. Oh, you're such an incredible person. It's a merit to see you." And the person's like, "Oh, any much more of this, and Aaron's going to find out what I'm really about." Right? So what would he do? Rabbeinu Yonah says, just from Aaron being so positive and welcoming in that friendship, he would immediately leave his sins, this person. Just to preserve that relationship with Aaron. So that Aaron doesn't find out, even though Aaron may have known already, right? But just so that his reputation can be clean. So if we look at people with a positive eye, guess what? They want to be. How many times has someone said to you something about something you may have done something wrong, and they didn't see that part that you did wrong, and they're like, you're really exceptional. really amazing how you thought about them. Meanwhile, you're like, I didn't think about them one bit. I had no idea what they're talking about, right? But they just, so now you say, you know what? I should really think about them. I should really think about other people, right? I should really do that. And then we start living up to the things that people expect us to live up to. Because we don't want to let them down. They're going to see that, you know. Someone comes over to you and says, you know, Dave, I know that you have such powerful prayers. I know that you pray for people. Can you please pray for so and so? Right? So what are you going to do next time you're praying? I should have other people in mind. You know, they're expecting me to. Right? So I'll tell you, there's a great song that was composed by a friend of mine. I'm not going to get into names. You know, we're on a live feed here. But a friend of mine composed the song, and the song is a story about these crooks. That the crooks decided, you know, if we become a Hasidic rabbi, you know, people who come to the Hasidic rabbi, you know, they give the rabbis a lot of money for prayers. They should bless their family. When they come in, they put in their hand, when they're shaking the rabbi's hand, they put in, $100, $200. It adds up. It adds up a lot. You have 50 people coming every day. You make a lot of money, right? It's a big. I'm not saying they're in it for business. They give a lot of it to charity, and they do a tremendous amount of kindness. So these guys said, you know what? We're going to become phony rabbis. We're going to become phony, right? And people are going to come and they're going to think we're real, and we'll make all this money. It's a great scandal. People would come and they'd say, you know, I have a child who's very sick. I need you to pray for them. He says, sure, no problem. We'll pray for them. What's the name? But slowly what happened was they actually started praying for them, and they actually started having so when people look up to you and people really respect you and people really admire you, you feel like I can't let them down. I can't let them down. We have to do that for other people. Give them that benefit of the doubt. Put them on that pedestal. Tell them, you know what? You're a good person. I see how nicely you interact with other people, even though you know they're obnoxious. But they'll want to start acting that way. That's the ability we have. If we, in true education, that's one of the foundations. You set the bar of where you want them to be. You trust them that they're honest, so they're not going to lie. Or you're going to make it extremely difficult for them to lie because you believe in them. And they don't want to lose that trust. What's going on, David?
Well, I'm stuck on the false rabbis.
It's a story.
It's not true.
It's not a true story, no.
Okay, that's different.
But I'm saying the idea is that I told you it's just a song. Right? They're not phony rabbis. Thank God. I don't know of any phony rabbis. Or at least I hope I don't. But all those that I know are authentic. But it's important. It's important for us to really, believe in people. Believe in people. Yeah, sometimes you will be let down. But more times than not, people would really want to live up to what you believe in them.
Do you believe in that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But again, the problem is today we're living in a culture where you can't even talk to people because they're so busy. They're on their phones. They're busy with everything else. They don't even hear what you're saying. If you're able to get to someone and touch their heart, you've changed the person. Absolutely. Any questions? Okay, so I want to just share with you one thing. Important thing. This is the Talmud in Sanhedrin 110a. It says the following. Af al pi, even though a quarrel, a fight between people is something which is hated and disgusted by God. God is disgusted by fights. Hates it more than anything in the world. However, when someone argues with their rabbi, when someone... No, I'm not. Okay, fine. It's okay. Right? Or from someone that they're supposed to accept their opinion from, it's hated even more by God. Someone fights, and it's an amazing thing. A great sage once said, a sage of the past 30, 40 years, So he was introducing. There was a rabbi who was becoming. There was a person who was becoming a rabbi of a new community. So at the induction, when he got the inauguration of his new position as rabbi, so they said someone said this amazing idea. You know, if you look at this Times Square, you look at any of these big cities, at the city center, they have a clock, right? Where's the clock usually? Is it right there at your height?
Oh,
Where do they have
It's
it?
really high.
Why is it really high?
So everybody can see it.
See it.
So everybody can see it, right? But you can put it lower and everybody can see it also. I mean, eye level is also, everyone can see that. Why do they have it so high? The Rabbi said it's symbolic. It's symbolic. Because you know what happens if it was lower? You know what happens if it was lower? You'd pass by and you'd say, hey, it's wrong. You change the time. The next person 2 minutes later comes and says, hey, it's wrong. Change it back 2 minutes. The next person comes by. Can't believe it. It's off 3 minutes. Turns it back the other way. Everybody's going to be playing with that clock. You put the clock up high, no one touches it. That is the time. Whether you're right or you're wrong, that is the time. A rabbi needs to be like the clock. The rabbi needs to be like the clock. Right? Sometimes we like what the rabbi says. Sometimes we don't like what the rabbi says. Right? Now, again, it doesn't mean that we don't have conversation. It doesn't mean that we don't have questions. It doesn't mean that we don't have discussion. But there should be a certain amount of respect, of dignity that we provide, an honor that we give to our rabbis of our congregations, rabbis of our communities, that not to just throw it out. Oh, I don't agree with that opinion. They don't vote like I vote. Throw it right out the window. Right? It's a very serious thing, especially when we're talking about people who are Torah scholars, people who know the word of Hashem and study the word of Hashem. It is such a critical and important value for us to have something which is called kavod, honor and respect, due respect to our spiritual leadership. And that's something that we've seen throughout the ages. When a rabbi walked into a room, people stood up. When a rabbi spoke, people were quiet. Today it's much less common. And I'm not saying that it's not because the rabbis aren't as worthy. It's possible. But it's also we're dealing with a generation that doesn't know what honor and self-dignity is to begin with. People don't have self-respect for themselves. How are they going to have for the rabbi? Which leads us back to the point of peace. In order to do all of these things for peace, you know what you also need to do? You have to have peace within. Because if you don't have peace within, it's impossible for you to have peace with others. It's impossible for you to make peace between others. And peace is just a topic. Peace is not a pursuit. Peace becomes something that, it's a nice thing. It's very nice. It's a good virtue. For those who can do it, yeah, great. But right, it becomes something which is totally separated from us. But in truth, peace is the key to our spirituality. And if we don't have peace, then we're failing in one of the most essential elements of our spiritual pursuits. So with that, we're gonna end this topic, and over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be out of town, and I'm going to be traveling to Israel. I'm going to be traveling to New York first, and my brother will be filling in for these 3 weeks. And I will send out the list of topics, but they're also going to be broadcast live on Facebook. So don't worry, our trusted friends on Facebook, thank you so much for joining us. Please like and comment and share these videos if you like them. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to address them in the comment section. But let's keep peace. Let's keep peace amongst us. I'll just tell you a quick experience that happened here tonight. So we had a very wonderful woman. She's she cleans this facility for us just about every week, and I could tell that she was very agitated. So I asked I asked someone who was talking with her, is she upset? Upset, yeah. So I called her aside a little bit, a few minutes later, and I said, is everything okay? She says, well, it's hard for me to clean when everyone's walking in and out, and it's like, so I said, you know what? I said, I really, really, this is a place of peace. This is a place of friendship. This is a place of pleasantness. And I don't feel comfortable if you're not happy. So I said, if you want to stop now, you want to come back later, come back tomorrow, I prefer that. I don't want you to not be happy here. I don't want you to not have peace, to not have that. So it's okay, I'll pay you now. If you can come back tomorrow, that'll be best. But I don't want you to be here angry. I don't want you to be here upset. I don't want there to be a lack of peace in our midst. God should bless us that we should always have peace in our midst. Wherever we are, wherever we go, we should always be purveyors of peace. We should be people who are pursuing peace and ensuring that everyone around us has peace. And God should bless us, right? Oseh shalom b'rmomav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. He should bring peace aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, and on all of His people Israel. V'imru amen. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night.